I think people have a harder time accepting gay people than they do accepting transgender people who have transitioned.
Why is that?
Because now you fit in the realm of normal. Yeah. Like if a man, a physical looking, if you call yourself a transgender man and you physically present as male, then that's something they can deal with. If you call yourself a woman and you physically present as female, that's something they can deal with. But if you're calling yourself a man and you physically present as female, they cannot understand that. Yeah, I know I've been paraded around like the only transgender girl in Uganda, which is not true. But unfortunately, I don't know if I'm the only or I'm the only openly transgender girl in Uganda who is openly talking about her transition. But yes, I'm being paraded around as a transgender girl specimen, which is where I'm actually going tomorrow so they can see what a transgender girl looks like. But then it's also because people want to look at transgender within the realm of normalcy. Do you get that? So there are many other transgender people, but if you present them, they will be like, no, those are gay men. No, they're not gay men, they're just transgender people who are not on hormones. But then people want to, like in the gay movement, we also have heteronormativity within it. We are trying to sort of like perpetuate that normality, that even when you get married, we try to say that who is the man, who is the woman. No, like in a gay relationship, it's not really about that. Like, why do we have to define gay relations within the heterosexual dynamics? Like, who should take the male position, who should take the female position, and that's how it is. So even when they are presenting me, it's because how I'm presenting right now is within the realm of normalcy. So yeah, now we can present this one, but why would they be free to present any other transgender woman? It's also debatable, maybe not at this time. In Africa, I would say we have a very accepting, nurturing culture. And the translation of that in the word that we use for that in the Bantu language is Ubuntu, to mean togetherness, understandingness, acceptingness, and this Ubuntu culture. And this is another for the northern cultures, northern African cultures, spread from Central Africa down up to South Africa, covering so many countries. This Ubuntu culture, and it's the same word as you go downwards. Maybe it will choose to, in Luganda you'll call it Ubuntu, but it comes to Ubuntu, it's that culture where we accept things. But accepting things is not equivalent to let's talk about things. So in Africa we're also very discreet people. There is things that we don't talk about openly, and one of them is sexuality. One of them is things that we don't claim to understand. We leave them to myth and mystery, and that's enough for us. We leave them to the realm of supernatural. Yes, and there were transgender people in Africa, and they used to call them, we used to interpret it as someone being supernatural to the extent that if you're a woman acting like a man, or presenting as a man, then they would say that you're such a supernatural person and you'll be respected in society because they think you're a woman who has been inhabited by a male god. And they would accept this male god to have relations with women because they would not assume that it is this woman who is having relations with women, but it is this male god having relations with women. Same with a man acting like a woman. It will be a female god inhabiting a male person, and this female goddess would be accepted to have sex with a man because it was this female goddess, not this person. So we didn't really base upon the physical. We didn't really base upon labeling it transgender, gay, bisexual. No. If we didn't understand something, it was supernatural and we didn't want to find out any more about it. So science came, religion came, defining normal and abnormal, and broke our cultures to pieces and made one against the other and brought up all these divisions. Yeah, to some extent, that was the evil that religion brought. That's one of the evil that religion brought and colonization brought, because as us as Africans, we're very accepting of things. Not because we understand them, we don't try to understand things we don't know. We are free to leave them to the supernatural. It's okay. We don't want to even talk about them. We prefer living things of myth and mystery. That's fine. So someone comes with science and says, let's label things, let's call a spade, and that's not who we are. We don't call a spade. We are free with calling a spade a big spoon because we are more comfortable calling it a big spoon. We don't want to talk about the nitty-gritties of how you have sex with your woman back home. No, we would rather keep that to that special moment, when just before you get married and there's one person who is designated for that role, but no, not at a drinking pot where everyone is seated and then talking about sex, how I have it with your woman, no. So that's how we've been, and we look at that as being indecent. Talking about this is indecent. But then again, with our culture being accepting and colonialism coming with a religion, and all that, came all these things of saying what's normal and what isn't normal, what's natural and what isn't unnatural. Yeah, it was a mixing of cultures, and something else came out of it. I won't call what we have now as African culture. I would call it as pre-colonial. It's a pre-colonial African culture melange, because our culture isn't as it was before the colonialists. We had our culture, the colonialists came and they had their culture. Things worked out, and what came out afterwards is we cannot call what we have now as an African culture. Hell no, because when we are having our king being coronated, it's with a bishop. And he's putting on us. It's with a bishop, and we never had bishops back then, so how African is that? I fail to see how African that is, a bishop, which is a very Western thing. Being at the coronation, being at something that is so basic and close to that, that's very un-African, for lack of a better word. Or having the king walking around in a suit. Our kings used to wear back clothes and loin clothes, but now our kings wear suits, and they have to go abroad to Western schools and attend an education. We didn't have that back then. So it's very debatable, the culture debate. And when someone gives me the culture debate, I'm like, I think here we have culture, but how we are right now as Africans is that we have culture, it has ABCD that it says about them. We decide to pick what about culture we would like and what about culture we don't like. And most of us have done that. We don't take culture as it is, because if we were taking culture as it used to be before, no, we wouldn't have what you have right now. Because, for example, our king, you would lie down and then he would walk on you. No one is willing to do that anymore. No one is willing to do that anymore. Yeah, our own staple foods are very Western. We take rice. Rice is very Asian. Yeah, how we dress up, how it's stylish to speak English, how we put on shoes. I don't see how actually African that is. So the African debate, the Africanness of sexuality is debatable, because irrespective of culture, there is sexuality, because people have to have sex. However they do it, people end up having sex. Yeah. I've been attacked more than once.
What has happened?
I've been attacked with my activism while we are out doing conferences, and then police comes through and they want to arrest us. I've been attacked before I transitioned, and then I used to go out and people hurl insults at you and want to beat you up, and actually beat you up. I've been attacked by my own dad. And he was beating me and I was just standing there. And he was surprised why he's beating me, and I was just standing there because, okay, for me it was a surprise when my dad actually beat me because he has actually never beaten me before. That was the first time. I was really being violent. But yeah, I've been attacked a couple of times. At the place where I was staying in at my hostel, I was attacked, but not physically, but I was attacked by people who didn't think I belonged to that community, who thought I was a social pariah, that I was something so abnormal that should not stay in the community of the educated and the elite. But I still claimed my space. I claimed my space in my class, in my master's class. I claimed my space in my career. I claimed my space. So yeah, I've been attacked. And every time I'm attacked and I fight on, it's like I get more clothed in this armor, and I feel like I can actually fight more, and it's less scary. So this doesn't happen anymore because when I started transitioning. But yeah, it still happens when I go back home, because at home, where my parents stay, that's where I grew up, and the family has been staying there for the past 30 years. So we are known. That is a local leader, so most of the people have seen me growing up. So when I go back home, there are a couple of guys who hurl insults at me, and throw questions at me. How do I feel like? I guess I just ignore it. I've also learned that ignoring it is also another weapon. Yeah, and one of them walked to me and said that, how are you so courageous to always walk through that road, knowing that every time you walk through that road, you will still be hurled at insults? And how do you have the strength to actually not enter a cheap battle with them? Because any other person would actually just start hurling insults back at them. Because if I wanted, I would have something done to them, because I know my dad is a local leader in that place, but I haven't done any of that. But even before I started transitioning, I had already clothed myself in a lot of armor, emotional armor, to protect myself. But I know there was a time when the fact that these insults were hurled at me made me cower inside myself and not be confident and not have self-esteem that I can do anything. But it's clothing myself in this armor of indifference and knowing that there is something I can do as a person, that realizing my strengths and what I could give back to this community that hates me is what helped me go through all this and actually feel like I was strong enough. But I know there was a time when, especially when I was in school, that me being different meant that I was the point of abuse, of harassment of all the boys in school, because they saw me as someone who was just awkward and weird. And they used to say all these things about me, and it used to make me cower. Yeah, and I used to get scared to go to some places because I'm scared that I'll find that violence there. But now I don't care if I'll find something there. I'll still go and I'll claim my space there.